There are two kinds of daughters who grow up around money that isn't quite theirs yet. The ones who believe it will be handed to them, and the ones who understand it will be taken from them if they don't learn how to hold it first. Parents, as a rule, cannot tell the difference. Not until a very specific morning arrives. A quiet one, a kitchen table, a folder, a smile that lasts a little too long, and a daughter who doesn't reach for the pen. My name is Alara Voss. I turned 18 at exactly 12:01 a.m. And by 8:12 that same morning, my mother was already trying to take everything my grandfather left me. What she didn't know was that I had sealed it hours before midnight. Before I take you into that morning, hit like and subscribe. It helps more than you think. And drop your city and your local time in the comments. I read all of them. Pause for a second, because this story doesn't start with money. It starts with timing. Let me take you back 5 months earlier, November. The kind of cold that settles into the walls before winter even officially begins. My house had a rhythm. Predictable, controlled, quiet. My mother liked it that way. Dinner at 6:15, dishes by 6:40. No noise after 9:30. No questions that didn't need asking. I learned early that silence wasn't peace. It was strategy. I didn't become quiet because I had nothing to say. I became quiet because it gave me time to listen. And my mother talked more when she thought no one was really listening. That's how I noticed it. Not all at once. Just small things. A locked drawer in her office that had never been locked before. Phone calls taken outside, even when it was cold. Names mentioned casually, then never again. Legal review, family structure, timing matters. Words like that. They don't sound dangerous. Not unless you know where to place them. The first real shift happened at dinner. It was a Thursday. My stepfather Adrian was talking about investments. He always did when he was nervous. My mother interrupted him. Ilara turns 18 in April, she said. Just like that. No context. No reason. Just placed on the table like a fact that needed to be acknowledged. Adrian nodded slowly. That's when the trust unlocks, right? Unlocks, not transfers. Not becomes hers. Unlocks. Like something waiting to be opened by the right person. I kept eating, didn't look up, didn't react, but I stored it. Because words matter more when people think they don't. My grandfather died when I was 15. He didn't trust easily. Especially not my mother. He never said it directly. But he didn't have to. Trust isn't always explained. Sometimes it's structured. He left me something just under $800,000. Stocks. Bonds. Cash. Locked until I turned 18. Controlled by a third-party trustee. Simple. Clean. Final. My mother smiled when she heard the number. Not proud. Not emotional. Just interested. That was 3 years ago. Now suddenly, 5 months before my birthday, she was talking about timing. That was the moment something shifted. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I adjusted. Because if you've ever experienced something like this, comment the word watching. You'll understand what comes next. December came with more patterns. Every Wednesday at exactly 4:20 p.m., a black sedan would park outside. Same man, same briefcase, same 1-hour meetings behind a closed door. The story changed every week. Financial advisor, tax consultant, old friend. But details don't change when the truth is stable. Only lies need updates. One afternoon, I came home early. School closed for weather. I wasn't expected. That matters more than people think, because people reveal things in the absence of expectation. The front door was unlocked. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Voices from the kitchen. Low. Careful. My mother, and a man I hadn't seen before. I didn't walk in. I stood in the hallway, still, listening. She'll sign, my mother said. No hesitation, no doubt. The man responded, and if she doesn't, a pause. Then a small laugh, controlled. She will, my mother said. She always trusts me. I didn't move. didn't breathe, because that sentence wasn't about confidence, it was about assumption. And assumptions are where people make mistakes. I stepped into the kitchen loudly. "Hey," I said. Both of them turned instantly. Papers shifted. Too fast. Too clean. The table was empty within seconds. That's how you know something matters, when it disappears too quickly. My mother smiled. "Home early?" I nodded. "Snow." She poured me tea like nothing had happened. Introduced the man as just helping with future planning. Future planning. Another phrase that sounds harmless, unless you already know it isn't. I didn't push, didn't ask. I took the tea, went upstairs, closed my door, and for the first time, I opened the box my grandfather had left me. It had been sitting on my shelf for years, untouched. Not because I forgot, because I was waiting for something to feel off. That's what he wrote on the lid. Open when something feels off. Not if, when. Inside was a letter, and a name, a lawyer, and a single sentence that changed everything. If your mother moves before you do, you will lose. I sat there for a long time, not shocked, not emotional, just clear. Because everything I had noticed suddenly connected. The timing, the meetings, the language. She wasn't preparing me. She was preparing something around me, and she thought I wouldn't notice. That was her mistake. I didn't confront her. I didn't change anything. I stayed exactly the same. Because people only reveal the full plan when they think you're still unaware. And I needed to see all of it before I moved. 3 days later, I called the lawyer, and that's where everything changed. Before we go further, pause for a second, because what he told me next is the reason the story doesn't end the way my mother expected. The lawyer answered on the second ring. No greeting, just my name. Ilara. Not a question, a confirmation that told me two things immediately. One, my grandfather had been very clear, and two, this wasn't a possibility. It was a scenario he had already prepared for. I stepped outside before I said anything else. Cold air, no noise, no chance of being overheard. "My mom is planning something," I said. There was no pause on the other end, no surprise, just a quiet exhale. "I was wondering when you'd call." That's when I understood. This wasn't about suspicion anymore. This was already in motion. He introduced himself as Daniel Rook. He had been my grandfather's attorney for 32 years. He didn't speak fast, didn't over-explain. He spoke like someone who knew time mattered, but panic didn't help. "Tell me what you've noticed," he said. So I did. Everything. The meetings, the language, the sentence I overheard. "She'll sign." When I finished, he didn't respond immediately. I could hear paper shifting on his end, a drawer opening, then closing. Finally, "Ilara," he said, "I need you to understand something clearly." I waited. Your trust doesn't unlock the way your mother thinks it does. That sentence didn't make sense at first. Meaning? It doesn't become accessible at midnight automatically, he said. It becomes legally yours at midnight, but control depends on structure. Structure. There it was again. Same word, different meaning, he continued. If no action is taken, you receive full control. But if documents are signed before that moment, even hours before, those can override your control. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Override how? Power of attorney, co-trustee designation, asset redirection. There are several ways. I didn't interrupt, because now everything I had seen had a direction. He went on. And based on what you've described, your mother isn't guessing. She's preparing a coordinated transfer. Transfer, not theft. Because legally, it wouldn't look like theft at all. That's how these things work. They're planning to have you sign something, he said. Likely under the explanation of simplifying management or family alignment. That phrase again. Family, always framed as protection, never as control. I asked the only question that mattered. How far along is it? Another pause. Longer this time. Then, far enough that I need to ask you something important. I waited. Have you signed anything in the last 6 months? No. Have they asked you to? Not yet. Good. His tone didn't change, but something underneath it did. A shift, subtle, like a door closing quietly behind us. Because once they do, he said, you won't have much time. I leaned against the cold railing outside. My fingers were numb, but my mind wasn't. What do we do? That's when he said it. The sentence that changed everything. We move first. Simple. Direct. No hesitation. He didn't suggest waiting. Didn't suggest confronting. Didn't suggest gathering more evidence, because he already knew something I was just beginning to understand. If someone is planning something quietly, you don't warn them. You act before they know you've seen it. We create a new structure, he said. One they cannot access, cannot influence, cannot reverse. I closed my eyes for a second. Before my birthday? Yes. How close? As close as possible. That part mattered, because timing was everything. If we do it too early, he explained, it raises suspicion. If we do it too late, we risk interference. So we needed precision, not speed, not delay. Precision. He outlined it slowly. A new trust, irrevocable, independent corporate trustee. No family involvement, no shared authority, no amendments. Once executed, final. And once it's done, I asked. No one touches it, he said. Not even you, without structure. That gave me pause. Even me? Yes, he said. That's the cost of protection. I thought about that. Not emotionally, logically. Because control without protection is exactly what my mother was counting on. I understand, I said. Good. Another pause. Then his voice shifted slightly. Now there's something else you need to know. I didn't speak. Because I already knew, this part wasn't going to be small. We've received something, he said. From where? A former assistant at a law firm. My stomach tightened. Which firm? He didn't rush the answer. Briggs and Hale. The name meant nothing to me, but the way he said it meant it should. They specialize in aggressive family asset restructuring, he added. Aggressive, carefully chosen word. What did they send? I asked. Paper again, that same sound. Then, a draft document. Silence stretched between us. I didn't need to ask what kind, but I did anyway. What does it say? It's titled, he said slowly, Family Financial Consolidation Agreement. Even the name felt wrong. Too clean, too neutral, too designed. It includes your name, he continued, your full legal name, and your mother's. I didn't react, didn't speak, because something inside me had already gone very still. There's a signature line dated 2 months from now, he said. 2 months, before my birthday, before legal control transfers. I understood immediately. They're planning to have me sign early. Yes, and use my mom's authority. As your legal guardian, he finished. That was the plan. Not just manipulation. Structure. They weren't hoping I'd agree. They were preparing to make it official. Legally clean, technically valid, morally irrelevant. I exhaled slowly. How much control does it give her? He didn't soften it. Enough to redirect a significant portion of your trust, a beat, and potentially all of it, over time. There it was. Not a misunderstanding, not a miscommunication. A plan, and not a small one. Months of preparation. Legal drafting. Timing built around my birthday. She wasn't reacting. She was executing. I opened my eyes, looked back at the house, at the windows, at the place I had lived in my entire life, and for the first time, it didn't feel like mine at all. Okay, I said. My voice didn't shake, didn't rise, didn't break. Just steady. What's the timeline? He answered immediately. We meet next week. Where? My office. And Alara. Yes? From this moment forward, nothing changes. I almost smiled, because that part I already knew. Not your behavior, he continued. Not your tone, not your routine. I understand. They need to believe you're still unaware. They do. Good. A final pause. Then? And Alara? Yes. You're not reacting to this. He let that settle. You're outmaneuvering it. The call ended. And just like that, everything split into two timelines. The one my mother thought she was controlling, and the one I had just started building without her. If you've ever realized someone close to you was planning something behind your back, pause for a second, because the next part is where I stopped being the daughter who was watching and became the one who was preparing.